Hey there, everybody. We're gonna do a slightly different format today. I've decided to try and do a voiceover with just me doing the testing in front of you. I am not the best at talking and writing at the same time, so we're gonna give this a shot. Today's test is gonna be with what you saw in the last video where I did the random drawing, and it's gonna be with pilot Iroshizuku Kon Peki. So I'm using my Moonman dip pen, and also I'm sorry if you hear any loud banging noises in the background. We're having some carpet put down, so I'm kind of figuring out how the voiceover goes with that. Hopefully you don't hear too much of it. So I'm using my Moonman glass dip pen that I got a couple weeks ago, and we're gonna see how this goes. I'm still kind of learning how to use the pen and also how to kind of how I want to do these videos. You can kind of see off to the side I did another test that I think is a format that I like. I did that with Ink Studio, sorry, I did that with Sailor Ink Studio 264. So I've got the name of the ink, and then I had like some properties, some swatches, and all that fun stuff. So you can see with this, it's with the dip pen, obviously the flow is a little inconsistent depending on how much of it I dip into the pen. So that's another thing that I have to take into account when I'm testing this way. I'm going to get a lot more sheening this way because it's going to be a much wetter line. I'm putting down a lot more ink. Sorry if you can hear any crinkling. I'm in this room with my cats, so they're kind of trying to get their way of the land because they're just trapped in a little room for right now. So you can see I've drawn out my lines for my water testing, which I'll do a little bit later. I'll give that time to dry. And like I was saying with the sheen, because Kon Peki does have quite a little bit of sheen when you put down enough ink. So with the dip pen, you're going to get a lot more sheen than I normally get when I use a regular pen. So I wrote down that I have this in a 2 milliliter sample that I got from Goulet pens. With every ink test that I do make sure to write how much ink I have or how I have it. So that way for some I might have full bottles, some I might have samples, and some might be samples that were given to me by friends. So I make a note of that in my testing because I think it's important to know. I'm doing some like line variation just to kind of see how the ink flows. Sorry, my cat is walking on top of the radio. If you heard that, I'm sorry. So here I'm writing my sentence. It's believing in even the possibility of a happy ending is a very powerful thing. I use this one not because it's got every letter in the alphabet, because clearly it doesn't. It's missing quite a few of them. But I get bored of that the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, because everyone does that. So I like to do things that are a little different, just for fun. And it's a favorite quote of mine from, if you ever saw the TV show Once Upon a Time, you'll know where that's from. It's from the pilot, and it's such a powerful line, and it's one of my absolute favorites. So now I'm writing the story, and even in that sentence, that believing in even the possibility of a happy ending is a very powerful thing. You can see the variation in how the ink flows, because as I wrote, the ink dried up, so I wasn't getting as wet of a flow. All right, so here I'm writing out my story. There isn't that much of a story with this ink. It's just kind of I saw it and I liked it. Because I saw it, touted all over on all of the Goulet pens videos, because that's his quintessential blue. And I really wanted it, but I didn't want to buy it because Iroshizuku ink is kind of expensive. So I got it actually as a random ink sample. I think when I bought my Gin House Shark, I thought that I was very happy because I bought a really cheap pen and I got a really expensive ink sample. Okay, so this next part, I think I'm going to speed up because it's just my ink testing. So it's just my dry testing, so you don't really need to watch this part, so I'm going to speed it up and I'll come back to you when it's done. All right, so now that this is being sped up, you don't have to watch me wait for ink to dry, because that's probably the least entertaining thing ever. So this ink took about 30 seconds or so to dry in total. So as you can see, it's not the fastest drying ink in the world, but not the slowest. I've definitely had inks that have taken days to fully dry. So now I'm going to be doing my water testing. I have a little ink syringe that I just have some water in that I'm trying to let a little bit of a droplet out nicely. As you can see, it doesn't really work that way. We're getting a little too much water on the page, but it's fine because we're just going to kind of let it soak in. We're going to rub some of it around. This is kind of a method that I've decided I like to do. It's pretty much just, let one kind of be soaked up immediately to see how it is when you catch a water spill quickly. I rub one around to kind of see how it goes when, maybe you don't catch it, or you swipe water across your page. And then the next one is, well, I'm just trying to get the extra ink off of the page, but how it goes when you really let it soak down for a little while, you really just don't notice it. And it's not bad. It really is. I've had inks that have certainly been far less water resistant than this. I've had Polar Glow. They don't advertise it as a water resistant ink because it very much is not a water resistant ink. That ink, the lightest amount of moisture, that your writing goes bye-bye. So for water resistance, this is actually pretty good. I'm really happy with this. So we are going back into the dip pen now. I'm recording this a couple days after I actually recorded the testing, so I don't fully remember what it is that I did. I think right now I'm doing my layers right now. So I'm gonna take an ink swab. I'm gonna take a Q-tip and I'm gonna swab my my ink. I tried to cap my dip pen, thinking that I would be able to just use it again when I needed to, versus versus just cleaning it off and dipping it again. It kind of worked. Didn't work all that great. So sorry, I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to create some layers of ink just to see how it looks. I don't know what made me decide to do swipes as well as dots. It just kind of came to me that maybe I would get something different each time. Maybe not. This is another one that I think I'm going to speed up for you guys because it's more watching ink dry, and no one really wants to watch ink dry. So with this, basically what I found is that it does layer. You're not going to get a ton of extra color the more you layer it directly on top. I think now that it's fully dried, there is more sheen on the number 3, but for just clear color variation, it's a very pretty blue at 1. It's a very pretty blue at 3. That's the conclusion that I came to. So this was my attempt at using my pre-dipped and capped pen. That did not go very well. As you can see, there is ink on the grip section of my pen, so I ended up having this all over my hand for the rest of the day without realizing it. That was fun. So this is my grade. I gave it an A-. I'm not the, like I said as I'm writing, I'm not the biggest fan of deep blues like this. I tend to lean more on the green leaning and the teal blues. Those are more of my favorites. Also the light blues. I don't really know why. But for what it is, it's a very well-behaved, very well-performing ink with decent water resistance and some nice shading and even some nice sheening, which I did not mention because I didn't notice it until I was done filming. But it's just a really nice ink that I'm happy to have and I'm happy to use when I get to. I don't think it's something that I'll ever feel the need to get a full bottle of. I think there are other Iroshizuku inks and other blue inks that I would prefer. But for what it is, I really like it, and I'm happy that this was my first foray into filming and voiceover recording ink review. So here is the full page, as you can see. It's nice and blue, not bad water resistance, Gave it an A minus. The shading is okay. It's not my favorite ink, but it's not my least favorite ink. I like it a lot. So this has been a great first attempt. Let me know what you think. See you later, pen friends, and have a great day.